The Earth's surface consists of the number of the landforms, and these landforms are created by certain forces. These forces are called the initial forces and the sequential forces. Initial forces are, number one is the tectonic activity, and number two is the volcanic activities. When these forces act on the Earth's surface, are actually make the initial landforms. And number two is the sequential landforms. These landforms are created by certain forces which are called the secondary forces. And the number of forces are the water, river, the glacier, the wind, and the coastal waves. So the number of landforms which exist over the Earth's surface are made by the process of initial forces as well as sequential forces. The science of lithospheric plate motion is called the plate tectonic. Tectonic plates are composed of the thin oceanic and thicker continental lithosphere. Now here one thing is very important. The oceanic plate is thinner one, and it has a variation from 8 to 12 kilometers thickness, whereas the continental plate is thicker one, and it has thickness of about 40 to 80 kilometers. Now one thing is very important here again. The continental plate is lighter one as compared to the oceanic plate, and the continental plate is called the continental crust, whereas the oceanic plate is called the oceanic crust. So the oceanic crust is denser than the continental crust. Plate tectonic is the theory as the outer rigid layer of the Earth is divided into a couple of dozen plates, move around across the Earth's surface relative to each other like slabs of ice on a lake. Now here we have a beautiful example, like the continental plates are moving like a raft. Now raft means the wooden boat. So the one third of the total part of the boat is over the Earth's surface and 2/3 is below the surface. So the continental plates are moving like raft. Why? Because of the less density. The prominent mountain masses and mountain chains are created either by extensional tectonic activities or by the compressional tectonic activities. Now, the extensional tectonic activity is also called the divergence activities, whereas the compressional tectonic activities is called the convergence activity. The cool, brittle outer rock layer of the Earth is called the lithosphere, and it is broken into 7 large continental-sized tectonic plates and about a dozen much smaller plates. 7 major plates, which are up to 100 kilometers thick, cover 94% of the Earth. The Pacific plate is by far the largest one in area, as 108 million square kilometers. And other are the African plate, the Eurasian plate, which includes Europe and Asia, the Antarctican plate, the Australian plate, the North American plate, and the South American plate. The rest or remaining surface area is accounted for by about a dozen much smaller plates. Now this is the Pacific plate, which is the largest one. Then you have the Eurasian plate. It consists of Europe and Asia. So it is also one of the bigger in size. Then we have the African plate, which covers the whole of the African continent. The North American plate, it also consists of North America, the Greenland, the largest island of the Earth. Then the Indo-Australian plate, the Antarctic plate, and South American plate. These are the 7 major plates which are called the tectonic plates. Now most plate boundaries occur within the ocean or adjacent to the continent. but some are marked on land by mountain belts such as Himalayas, where the Eurasian and Indian plates meet. Now this is the area where the word highest mountain, Himalayas, are located, and it is a boundary between the two major plates, the Indian-Australian plate and the Eurasian plate. So here we have a boundary between the two major plates. This is called the tectonic boundary, or the boundary between the two tectonic plates. Now this slide shows that the continents are gradually and steadily moving toward each other and separating to each other also. These irregular shaped segments fit together like a jigsaw puzzle and cover the entire surface of the Earth. Throughout geological time, the plates have probably moved across the surface of the Earth. In doing so, the continents have been shuffled around. Oceans have opened and closed, and mountains and volcanoes have formed. The German meteorologist and geophysicist Alfred Wegener was responsible for the theory of the continental drift, which was the forerunner of current idea about the plate tectonic. He believed that all the continents once joined together in a supercontinent called Pangaea, which split in the Mesozoic era. The Earth's continents are constantly reconfigured by movements of the crustal plates, with new oceanic opening and subduction of old ocean floor. During the Paleozoic era, most continents were joined to form the supercontinent called Gondwana. Over time, this drifted north from the southern hemisphere to form the even larger supercontinent of Pangaea, which by the end of the Paleozoic stretched from pole to pole. So this is the Laurentian plate, and this was the Gondwana plate. Once these two were separated to each other, and the central part of these two plates is covered by a Tethys Sea. Now today the Tethys Sea is in the form of Caspian Lake, the Mediterranean, the Gulf Sea. So these are actually the remnants of the Tethys Sea. Now इस स्लाइड में हम ये देख सकते हैं कि जो कॉन्टिनेंटल शेप है वो आज से 200 से 550 मिलियन साल पहले से एक सुपर कॉन्टिनेंट की शक्ल में मौजूद थी, और नाउ टुडे वी आर एक्चुअली फेसिंग this type of the shape of the planet. Now the convectional currents within the Earth mantle are one responsible explanation for the movement of the Earth lithospheric plates. Hot mantle is thought to rise, cool, and then sink again in a circular motion, moving the plates along as it does so. Now this is one of the concepts of the movement of the plates. The convectional currents are moving upward from the areas which are in the form of liquid, and this liquid is hot molten material. It has a temperature of more than 1500 degrees Celsius. So all the waves which are hot waves or called the convectional currents are moving upward, and when they move upward, the brittle area, the area which is in the form of hard rock, actually turns these convectional current toward the right and left of the region. So here we see some of the area under convergence zone and some of the area under divergence zone. यहाँ हम ये देख सकते हैं कि जो टेक्टोनिक प्लेट थ्योरी है उसमें डाइवर्जेंस की वजह से बहुत से फीचर जो हैं सतह ज़मीन के ऊपर हमें नज़र आते हैं, which is in the form of ocean bodies, or like the faults which are present over the Earth's surface. Some are in the form of small seas, but some are in the form of oceans. So this is why, because of the divergence of the tectonic plates. Now this shows that the Earth surface is covered with certain areas which are under the formation of the landforms, and these landforms are created because of the certain forces.